Let me tell you something I noticed about my husband. At first, I thought it was small. In fact, I almost laughed about it. My husband, Chinedu, had no job for almost 2 years, but he was never worried about money. You may think that is normal. I thought so too. I told myself, maybe he just has faith. Maybe he is strong. Because every morning I woke up at 4:30 a.m., dressed in the dark, and rushed to catch a danfo to the bank where I worked. By the time I returned home, my legs would be shaking from standing all day. But Chinedu, he always looked calm. Too calm. If I complained about transport fare increasing, he would nod and say, "God will provide." If I said the landlord was asking for rent, he would just say, "Don't worry, something will come." At first, his words comforted me. Then I started noticing something. He never asked how much money we had left. Not once. Before we continue, if you are new on my channel, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification icon so that you will be the first to be notified anytime I drop a new story. Let's continue. One evening, I counted my salary on the bed. I was calculating food, electricity, and his younger sister's school fees. My head was hot from thinking. Chinedu walked past me, humming a song. He did not even look at the money. "Are you not worried?" I asked him. "About what?" he said. "The bills." He stretched and smiled. "You worry too much." I remember staring at him that night, because a man without a job should worry about bills. But he slept peacefully, very peacefully. Days passed, then weeks. Another thing started disturbing me. Sometimes, late at night, when I woke up to drink water, I would see light under the sitting room door. Chinedu would be awake, always with his phone. The moment he heard my footsteps, the screen would go off quickly. "Why are you awake?" I asked once. "Just browsing," he said casually. "What browsing?" "News." But I never heard videos, never heard laughter, never heard music, only soft tapping. Every night. I tried to ignore it. I told myself he is job hunting online. That explanation helped me sleep, until one night. I entered quietly and stood behind him before he noticed. The glow from the screen reflected on his face. It was not social media. It was not a job site. I did not even understand what I was seeing. Many small boxes, numbers, English I could not follow. He quickly tilted the phone away. "You scared me," he said. "What are you doing?" I asked. He laughed lightly. "Nothing serious." "Is it job applications?" "Yes," he said immediately, too immediately. After that night, I started noticing patterns. He was always busy at midnight, never in the afternoon, never in the morning, only late nights. Yet during the day, he would sit relaxed, chatting with neighbors, even advising people about business opportunities like someone experienced. Meanwhile, I was the one paying rent, food, electricity, his mother's hospital drugs, even transport for him sometimes. One afternoon, his mother called me. "My daughter, God bless you. Chinedu told me things will soon change." I smiled politely. Amen. But after the call ended, my heart beat strangely, because I had not told Chinedu anything had changed. That evening I finally asked him, "Chinedu, are you hiding something from me?" He looked at me for a moment. Then he smiled. He held my hand and said softly, "Why are you asking questions that will only bring you stress?" I felt cold, because that was not an answer. And that was the night I realized. I did not actually know what my husband was doing every night after I slept. After that conversation, I told myself I would stop thinking about it. Marriage needs trust. At least that was what everyone kept telling me. So the next morning I woke up again at 4:30 a.m., tied my scarf, and rushed out to catch the danfo before the road filled with traffic. The conductor was already shouting, "CMS, CMS, and people were pushing to enter. Inside the bus, I held the rail and tried to calculate my expenses again. Rent was due in 3 weeks. Electricity had already been disconnected once that month. His younger sister's school had sent another reminder, and his mother's hospital drugs had finished. My head was heavy. When I reached the bank, customers were already waiting before we opened. One man shouted because his transfer delayed. A woman blamed me for ATM charges. By afternoon, my feet were aching inside my shoes. All day, one thought stayed in my mind. Chinedu was never this worried. When I returned home that evening, I met him outside laughing with 2 neighbors. He was explaining to them how a business abroad works. "You just need patience," he was saying confidently. I stood there quietly, because the man giving advice had no job. He saw me and smiled warmly. "My hardworking wife is back." I forced a smile and went inside. That night, I decided not to sleep. I pretended to be tired and lay on the bed. After some time, his breathing became steady. Then around midnight, the mattress moved. He got up. My eyes remained closed. I heard the door open gently, then soft footsteps to the sitting room. After 5 minutes, I stood up slowly and walked quietly toward the door. The sitting room light was off, but a blue glow filled the space. Chinedu was sitting on the chair, focused. Not on a phone this time, a laptop. I froze. We did not own a laptop. I had never seen that laptop before. His fingers were moving quickly across the keyboard. English words I could not fully read filled the screen. Boxes, charts, numbers changing. He was wearing an earpiece. Then he spoke softly. "Yes, I can hear you." I felt my stomach drop. He was not browsing. He was talking to someone. I leaned closer, on my heart pounding. His voice sounded different, calm, professional. "Send the document. I will review it before the deadline," he said. Deadline? My hand began to shake. Suddenly the chair creaked beneath him. He turned. Our eyes met. For 1 second, neither of us moved. "Amaka?" he said. I could not speak. My throat went dry. He quickly closed the laptop halfway. "How long have you been standing there?" "What is this?" I whispered. He stood up fast. "You should be sleeping." "That is not what I asked," I said, my voice trembling. Silence filled the room. Then he walked toward me gently and placed his hands on my shoulders. "You are stressing yourself," he said softly. "I didn't want you to worry." "Worry about what?" "Nothing serious," he replied quickly. "Just helping a friend with some online tasks." "Every night?" I asked. He hesitated only a moment. "Yes." I stared at him. Helping a friend every midnight, with a laptop I never knew existed. Something inside me felt wrong, but I was too tired to fight. So I nodded slowly and returned to the bedroom. He followed after a few minutes. He slept, but I did not. Because that night, for the first time, I stopped wondering if he was hiding something. I started wondering how big it was, and I did not know that very soon. My body would pay the price for carrying a life that was never truly shared. The next morning, I still went to work. I did not sleep, but I still woke at 4:30 a.m. My eyes burned as I tied my scarf. My head felt heavy, but I told myself, just reach the office. Just reach the office. Chinedu was still sleeping, peacefully. I stood beside the bed for a moment and watched him. His face looked calm, like a man without any burden. I wanted to wake him. I wanted to ask again, "What exactly are you doing every night?" But I didn't. Instead, I picked up my bag quietly and left. The Danfo that morning was more crowded than usual. A woman was carrying a crying child. Someone stepped on my foot. The conductor kept shouting for change I didn't have. My stomach hurt slightly, but I ignored it. At the bank, Customers filled the hall before we even opened. The queue stretched outside. People were impatient. "Madam, I've been waiting since 7 a.m." one man shouted. Another woman dropped forms in front of me. "Please do it fast, I'm late." I tried to smile, but my hands felt weak. By noon, I had not eaten. There was no appetite anyway. My head began to spin slightly while I was speaking to a customer. I held the counter to steady myself. "Are you okay?" My colleague Bissy asked quietly. She worked at the next desk. Bissy was the only person who sometimes forced me to drink water. "I'm fine," I said. I was not. By afternoon, the spinning became worse. My vision blurred for a moment while counting cash. I made a mistake. My supervisor frowned. "Focus, Amaka." "I'm sorry," I whispered. I stood up to go to the restroom and splash water on my face. The hallway looked longer than usual. Each step felt heavy. My ears rang. I reached the sink and held it tightly. My reflection in the mirror scared me. My face was pale. Sweat covered my forehead. I turned on the tap. The sound of water echoed loudly in my head. Then my chest tightened. I tried to breathe. The room tilted. My knees gave way. The next thing I heard was a distant voice. "Amaka! Amaka!" It sounded far away, and hands touched my shoulders. The floor was cold against my cheek. Bissy's voice came again, louder now. "Somebody help me!" She fainted. I wanted to answer her. I wanted to say I was okay, but my mouth would not open. Darkness kept pulling me down. Somewhere inside that fading moment, one thought kept repeating, "If I stop working, who will pay for everything?" Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, the ceiling was white. A soft beeping sound filled the air. Hospital. My throat was dry. Bissy sat beside me, relief flooding her face. "Thank God you woke up." My lips moved slowly. "Chinedu." She hesitated. Then she picked up my phone from the table. "I called him," she said quietly. Just then, the phone buzzed in her hand. She looked at the screen. Her face changed, not confusion, shock. I tried to raise my head. What is it?" Bissy stared at the phone again, then at me. Her voice dropped. "Amaka, why is your husband receiving a monthly salary alert?" My heart stopped. "Salary?" I whispered. She turned the phone toward me. The message was clear. International payment received. Beneficiary, Chinedu Okeke. And the amount was more than I earned in 6 months. My fingers went cold, because at that moment, I understood something terrible. My husband was not job hunting. He had been working the entire time. For a long time, I could not speak. I just stared at the phone in Bissy's hand. The numbers did not change. The name did not change. Chinedu Okeke, my husband, the man I had been feeding. My lips trembled. Maybe it is a mistake. Bissy shook her head slowly. It's not one alert. She scrolled. Another message. Another month. Another payment. Our regular, steady. Almost 2 years. My chest felt tight again, but this time it was not sickness. It was something breaking quietly inside me. Just then, the ward door opened. Chinedu rushed in. "Amaka," he said, hurrying to my bedside. His face was full of concern. He held my hand. "I heard you collapsed. Are you okay?" I looked at him. For the first time, I really looked. His clothes were neat. His hair was trimmed. His shoes were clean. Not the appearance of a struggling man. Bissy stood beside the bed and slowly handed him the phone. He saw the screen. He froze, only for a second. Then he exhaled softly and sat down. "So," he said quietly. I waited. He did not deny it. He did not look surprised. He only rubbed his forehead. "You should have told me," I whispered. "I was going to," he said calmly. "When?" He hesitated. No answer came. Hospital bills? He looked down. I paid your mother's hospital bills. He looked down. I paid your sister's school fees. Still silence. I skipped meals so we could buy fuel for the generator. My throat tightened, but no tears came. And you were saving money. He finally spoke. I needed to relocate first. Once I settled, I would send for you. I watched him carefully. Did you ever plan to tell me before leaving? He did not answer. That silence was the truth. I nodded once. Something inside me became very calm. I did not shout. I did not cry. I simply leaned back on the pillow. Okay, I said softly. He looked surprised. Okay? Yes. That evening I was discharged. When we reached home, I sat on the bed and picked up my phone. First, I called the landlord. Good evening, sir. From next month, please contact Chinedu about rent. Chinedu frowned. What do you mean? I did not answer him. Second call. His mother. Mama, I won't be sending drug money again. Please speak to your son. Third call. His sister's school. For any further fees, kindly call Chinedu. He stood there confused. Amaka, what are you doing? I finally looked at him. I'm resting. The next day, electricity went off. No one bought fuel. The landlord came knocking 2 days later. His mother called crying about medication. His sister was sent home from school. For the first time, every responsibility in the house searched for him. His phone kept ringing, again, and again, and again. No one called him a good man looking for opportunity anymore. But they wanted answers. He sat quietly in the same chair he once relaxed in, staring at the wall. I lay on the bed peacefully. For the first time in years, I slept without fear of tomorrow's bills. I did not fight him. I did not insult him. I simply stepped back. And without my salary, everything he was standing on collapsed. That was the day my husband finally understood. I was never the help. I was the foundation. And when the foundation stopped, the house could not stand.
Comment Part 2.